number one, they want to know which one represents a function. So remember that x's, and you might want to write it down just to have notes. X's cannot repeat. So write it down. So x's cannot repeat. Okay, so if you look at A, let's look at A. A lot of people in my second period thought, okay, well, that one does not repeat. Yes, it does. Right here, the 2, that's your x. This is your y. That 2 is paired with 4, but it's also paired with 6. So that's repeated 2's right there. So that's not it. And then when you look at B, the points they give you, they're both on the same vertical line. So think about it. They don't pass the vertical line test, because you cannot have more than 1 point on a vertical line because they have the same x. So these 2 points have the same x, and so do these 2. So this is not good either. They have repeated x's. Now, if you look at C, it has 2 negative 2's right there. So that cannot be the answer. The answer is D. If you notice the x's, all of them are different. 4, 8, 9, 6, they're all different. It doesn't matter if the y's repeat. So if that kind of threw you off, it doesn't matter about the y's. Our focus needs to be on the x's. So make sure that you look at the proper part of your table, your graph, or your mapping. Alright, so let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, what is a solution to the system? There are 2 ways that you can solve this. When they want a solution to a system, you can either graph, and you can find the intersection, which is menu 64. That's one way you can do this. So let's try that way. Let's go turn on your calculators, go to your home screen, and then go to your graph app. So right here, this second app, boot it up, and let's type in the 2. So you need to practice with me, because remember, you need to practice the way you will work them out on the final exam. So the first equation, you need to use relation. So hit delete and go to relation, and then type it in. So it's x plus plus y equals 4. And you'll see that it makes a picture of a line, and then you hit tab and you type in the next one, which is x minus y equals 0. And the answer is where they intersect. Okay? So right here is your solution. So we can use menu, go to 6, and go to number 4 for intersection. And all you do is click and drag over it, and you've got your intersection. There's your solution. Your intersection is your solution. Okay. Or you could use menu 32, and that's the other way I wanted to show you. So in your notes, you can put that too, but that would be the first app. So I want you to put first app, and you would do menu 32. So there are 2 ways to solve this. The answer is D. I'll show you menu 32 also. That one is using this app, the calculator app. So all you do is bring up the 3-2 menu. There it is right there. It even says systems, like look for the keywords. And then it says you how many equations? 2. What's the variables? X and Y, everything's okay. And then you literally just type it in. So you would do x plus y equals 4. And then the other one was x minus y equals 0. So it should give us the same answer. There it is. So either one of those will work, okay? So circle 2, 2, and write this down. Like y'all need to write down your notes. The graph app, menu 64. Or use the first app and do menu 32. Okay? Either one will work. Alright, so let's look at number 3. Number 3 says which expression is equivalent. So on this one, if you want to find out if something is equivalent, that's like asking, well, which one is equal to this expression right here. So you can use 2 different ways. The graphing is going to be the easier route here. You can just go and graph the problem, and then you graph each answer until you find the matching graph. So I call this, and I've told you this before, I call it graph and match. You're basically just going to graph the problem and then graph each answer. So let's go to the graph. Again, do this with me so that you can practice it. Raul, hey, you need to be doing this with me so that way you practice and you... Now, don't use relations. You need to just stick to right here, graphing the problem. So let's look at the problem. The problem was 9x squared plus 15x plus 4. So 9x squared plus 15x and then plus 4. So this is the picture we're looking for. When we want to find equivalent, then that means we need one that's going to give us the exact same picture in the problem. So let's go to the first one. Let's try 8. So we're going to try this one, and we're just going to literally just type that in. So hit the tab key and then type it in. So parentheses, 9x plus 1 and then you put parentheses and try x plus 4. Hit enter and you'll see what picture. Is that the same picture? Then they're not equivalent. You have to come up with the same graph if you want it to be equivalent. Has anybody found it yet? Has anybody tried B? Try B.
Not B. It's B.
Not B?
It's B.
It's C? Okay, so let's check. So I'm going to go ahead and type this one in, kind of save us some time. So this one was 3x plus 1, and then 3x plus 4. Press enter, there you go. Yes, the same exact graph. So that means they are equivalent. Okay, so the correct answer is C. But again, put this in your notes. Put graph, put a little arrow that way, and then point to the answers, and then put graph and match. Because that's really all you have to keep in mind. When they say equivalent, they mean like the same picture. Alright, so let's look at number 4. Number 4 wants to know what is the vertex of the quadratic function. So this is going to make a U-shaped curve, and we want to know which one has the vertex. Well, let's graph it and see what kind of vertex it is. So again, boot up your graph app, and let's type in this problem right here, x minus 6 times x minus 6. So we can see what kind of vertex. Is it a minimum? Is it a maximum? That's what we need to find out first. And then you can get, okay, so is that a min or a max? That's a minimum. So when you're looking for the vertex, this is the point you want right here, at the very, very bottom. That's called a minimum. So go to menu and go to number 6 and pick number 2, menu 6, 2. And all you do is click and drag again. So click and then drag over it. Boom, there's your minimum vertex right there. Okay? So in our notes, let's write down, first of all, let's draw what it looked like. It was like this. And so that means that it was a minimum. So you might want to point to that and put minimum vertex, M-I-N-I-M-U-M. And then even put menu 6, 2. So menu 6, 2. So the correct answer was, what, C again? Is that the right one? 6, 0? Okay. So 6, 0. Now you might want to draw the maximum though, because what if it was upside down? So in your notes, let's do this, because we don't know the one on the test. We don't know what it's going to be. So let's go ahead and draw one that's upside down, and let's put maximum. And then let's put menu 6, 3 on that one. So maximum vertex, if that's what you realize it is when you graph it, then you need to do menu 6, 3. There is a difference. Okay. Any questions on minimum or maximum? Pretty easy stuff, guys. So far, all 3 have been done in the calculator. Okay. Any questions? Alright, so let's go ahead and go to, look at number 5. Number 5 asks, what are the solutions? I need for you to remember that that was part of Xerox. So write it down on your paper. When they want the solutions, that's the S in Xerox. And so if you think about it, the other words that go with this are zeros. And that's what they call it in the calculator. And in the calculator, it's an M61 to find the zeros. Okay, so, and remember RO was root. So if they ask you, because they could put any word here, guys. It could be the same question on the exam, but they might put zeros. Or they'll say, what are the roots of this? Or what is the x-intercept? That's what the X stands for. In this case, they called it solution. So you need to know all 4, because you don't know which word they will use. So all you got to do is the menu 61 in your calculator. So let's graph this equation, and then we'll do menu 61. So what? Very simple. Boot up your graph app, type in the problem. What is that? +3. So +3. Hit enter. Now if it says this, before you get frustrated, just go ahead and put a multiplication sign right between the variable and the parentheses. Remember, a lot of times that's all you need to go back and put. Okay, and then it'll understand it. There it is. So what we want are the solutions. That means we want these two right here, where it crosses the x-axis. So you can do menu 6, 1, and click and drag over that one, and then do it again. You have 2 of them. If you have 2 zeros, you've got to do this twice, so that you can get both of them. So there's your 2 solutions, -3 and a 0. Or 0, -3, which is what, A? So this is the correct one. So let's draw a little picture, like this. Draw a little graph, so that way you know what you're looking at. Like, what are you going to look for? And remember, it's crossed here at -3 and at 0. So you want to draw yourself a quadratic that kind of goes through those 2. Because your zeros are right here, at -3 and at 0. That's what we were looking for, the x-intercept. Okay, but again, it's menu 6-1. That's the way. Now, you could do menu 5-1. Remember, I showed you both. When we were doing the star review, I said, you know what, menu 5-1 does them also. You can just kind of scroll to them, and it'll show you the zeros. So you could do that as well. But the only problem is that the other 0 is also your y-intercept. Oh, but I did call it a 0. When I first did it, it said y-intercept. So, I mean, that works too, if you know what you're looking for. Alright, any questions so far on those 5 questions? Pretty easy, guys. You should be able to do fine on the final exam, as long as you give yourself a chance to, like, go over the problems the night before. But take good notes. So let's look at number 6. Number 6 says, the mapping below represents all of the points on the graph of function f. What is a domain? So what does domain mean? The x. Very good. You guys remember. So there's domain and there's range. This one is domain, so it's your x values. And all you have to do is look at the mapping. They even have an x on this column right here. And so those are your x's right there. 2, 1, 0, -2. They might have them in order, like this, like B. They have the least to greatest, the -2, 0, 1, 2. There it is right there. Now, I showed you to remember Dr. Is. So put this in your notes so you remember it's Dr. D-R. Or Dora. I know some teachers in middle school would show their kids Dora, because it was D-O and then the RA for range. And so that would remind the students that it was domain, are your x's, and range are your y. Alright, any questions on that one then? Now, on number 7, there was a mistake, and you need to correct it. Those answers do not go with this problem. So let's look at number 7. I deleted mine because went ahead and fixed it for next year. That way when I hit save, it's already saved. But you guys had answers here, but they have nothing to do with this problem. I think they changed the problem, they forgot to change the answers. So the question though is still there, so we can still answer it. What is a 0 of 5x plus 20? So remember that 0 means you can do menu 6, 1. It's part of Xerox. So let's graph it and let's see where the 0 would be, which is menu 6, 1. So let's graph it. 5x plus 20. There's your line. And then just go to menu 6, 1. There's the word 0. It even says 0 on the calculator. And then there's your answer. So -4, 0. So let's write it in. I know the answers that you have, just cross them out. They're wrong. And then right here on the side, just put -4, 0. Okay? It's very simple so far. So if they say 0, menu 6, 1. If they say solution, like they asked on the last problem, menu 6, 1. Now let's look at number 8. Number 8 is one of those problems that I really highly recommend you use a highlighter, because that way you can highlight the key words and you can see how much each ticket costs. You know, you got to look at stuff like that and what the totals are. It says Mr. Newman bought 8 tickets. Okay, that's a total. Okay, something's got to equal to this total. So if you notice, like A has an 8 right there where the total is, B does not, C does, and D. It says he bought 8 tickets to a chili supper for a total, there's another total right there, of $30. So again, something has to equal to that total, to 30. So something's going to equal to 8, but something also needs to calculate in total to 30. It says he bought a combination of adult tickets, which were 5, and child tickets, which are 3. So think about it. 5 and A should be together. And then 3 and C should be together. And then it says which system of equations below, system just means more than one equation, notice there's 2, will determine the number of child tickets, C, and the number of adult tickets, A. Okay, so they're using an A and a C. So if you think about it, one of the totals had to equal to 8. So if I use these variables, A and C, what would equal to 8? 8 tickets. If I use these variables, C means child, A means adult. Yeah, A plus C. Adult tickets plus child tickets would equal to 8. That's one of the equations. The other equation involves the prices, because you remember another equation has to equal to 30. That was the other total they gave us. Well, adults were how much? 5. So it should be what? 5A plus 3C equals 30. So there's your 2 equations. So which one has the correct equation? C? A plus C is 8, 5A plus 3C is 30. There it is right there. Okay. So highlighter really helps because you highlight the key words, like what should be together, what variable should be with this number or this price, and what are my totals. Like that's what you need to look out for, totals and variables. Alright, so let's look at number 9. Number 9 on your paper, this number might have cut off, so please add it in. This coordinate right here on your paper I think got cut off, so put -3 on your paper. It's 4, -3. So on this one it says what is the M, the slope of a line that contains the points, and they gave you 3 points. And they gave you a graph here where you could graph them. So let's graph 2, 0. Let's graph 0, 3. 1, 2, 3. And let's graph 4, -3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. So if they want the slope of that, you need to draw a line. So go ahead and connect them. Draw a line that goes right through those points. Slope is rise over run. So all we need to do is count the rise, and we need to count the run. But we also need to remember that slope guy will help us with the sign. So yes, it is negative. Remember slope guy, the line going up is positive. line going down is negative, and that's what this is doing. If it would have been a vertical line, it would have been undefined, and then the mouth horizontal line would be 0. But this is definitely a negative rise overrun. So that's what we need to keep in mind. So this is going to be a negative. Already we can cross out what? A and B. So see, you've already narrowed it down to 2 answers. Let's count it. So rise is 1, 2, 3. There's your rise right there. 3, and your run is 2. So negative 3 over 2. So the correct answer is D. Okay. Any questions on slope? And guys, what's the other word for slope? Because what if they don't call it slope?
Rate of change.
They could call it rate of change. Put that in your notes. Okay. So slope or rate of change, both of those mean the same thing. You still have to graph and find the rise and run. Now, those of you who use spreadsheet, you could do that problem using the spreadsheet because they did give you these points. So think about it. Those points can go on a table. So if you wanted to, you could have used a spreadsheet and entered these 3 points and do a linear regression. So if you want to do that on the test, you can. Okay, those of you who are really good at spreadsheet in your calculator, do that. Okay. You can also use your formulas. Those of you, the slope formula. And there's lots of ways to do slope. Alright, let's look at number 10 next. It says if 3 times 2x minus 7 equals 10x plus 6 times x plus 4, what is the x equal to? So what can we do with this problem? Well, one, you could work it out, which a lot of you might be able to if you remember your skills. You can do it up here at the top where we have a little bit of room here. Let's do 3 times 2x minus 7 equals 10x plus 6 times x plus 4. Alright, so what would we do first if we were going to solve this? You have parentheses, because that's what you want to do first. Do we have parentheses in the equation? Yeah. So let's do the parentheses. We would multiply those 2 things out and then these 2 over here. Okay? So 3 times 2x, 6x. 3 times negative 7 minus 21. We got a 10x here, just drop it down. 6 times x plus 6x. 6 times 4 plus 24. Alright, once you do that, then you want to combine your like terms. So if you look on the left side, there's nothing to put together. We got a variable and a number. But over here on the right, we got 2 variables that need to come and join together. That's called combining like terms. So 6x minus 21 would be 10 plus 6, 16x. And then bring down the plus 24. Okay, and then your next step should be, okay, once you do parentheses, you do the like terms, now you need to start moving stuff. So you would want to move this variable over here with the 6, and so you do that by doing the opposite. If it's positive, cancel it out with a negative. And whatever you do to one side goes on the other side. Okay, that when you start moving, remember, you got to do it to both sides. So 6 minus 16x is negative 10x. Bring down the minus 21, and then cancel these out and bring down the 24. So what else could we move? Got the variables on the left. What do I need to move to the right? The 21. So it's a minus. Let's do it with a positive. So plus 21 to both sides. And then that cancels out. So drop down your negative 10x. Equals, over here, 24, 21, add them up, that's what, 45? And then what's always the last step? What do we do? Divide. So you divide by negative 10. So you could do this by hand. Now, you can also do it in that first app. This should have been, what, negative 4.5. You can also use the first app. So those of you who did not learn how to solve an equation, when we did this all year, but some of you still have trouble, then you would want to use the first app and do menu 31. So menu 31, it's called numerical solve, and then just type it in there and hit enter. What do you need to remember when you type it, though? What is it that a lot of you forget? Because watch, I'm going to do it. 3 parentheses, and then you do 2x. Somebody call it out to me. 2x what? Yeah. Minus 7. Okay. Equals 10x plus 6. Parentheses. X plus 4. This is what some of you forget. Right here, you forget that you have to put a comma. So don't forget the comma, and then you have to put the variable in the equation, which is an x. That's what you need to remember. Otherwise, you keep getting this message, like an error message, that it can't do it, it can't do it. That's because you need to go back and put the comma. So put in your notes here, you could do this menu 31. But don't forget the comma and the variable. So you might want to write that down just to remind you. Okay? Don't forget the comma and the variable when you use menu 31. Alright, number 11, what you need to use on this one is, there's 2 ways you could do it. One would be to work it out, but on your star review, what did we show you for this one? Yes. So what you can do is you can store numbers for those variables and then see what number you get, like what value you get. So what are the numbers they suggested in the 3 and 5? So we can do 3 for the A, we'll do 3 for A, and we'll do 5 for the B.
And 3, 5, 7, 9.
Yes. These are the numbers you want to choose. If you have more than 2 variables, you go 3, 5, they're the odd numbers, and then dot, dot, dot. Depends on how many variables you have. If you have 2 variables like this one, and A and B, use the first 2. If you have 3, use 3, 5, 7, and so forth. So that's what I'm going to do. So watch. You have to use the first app. And I would definitely clear. When you use store, you got to clear your calculator out, because it gets very confused with all these variables that are in there already. So Control N, let's clear everything out. So remember, do 3, control variable, and then store the A. Then type in the 5, control variable, type in B. And then it's just a matter of typing in the problem and the answers to see which ones match. So like the problem was this one right here, A to the 3rd, B to the negative 5. So first of all, set up your fraction. It's a fraction. So put A to the 3rd, and then B to the negative 5. And then on the bottom, it's A to the negative 5, B to the 3rd. Press enter and it'll give you this value. This is the value you want to look for in your answer choices. So 6561, you would want to write that down. It's 6561 and then over 39,00625. I'm sorry, 390,625. 390, and I've got a 0 here, and then 625. So yeah, I think the first one ends up working, right? So the correct answer is the one. A is the correct answer. If you type in A, and I can show you to prove to you, all you got to do is type it in. It was A to the what? 8. So A to the 8th power.
And then times B to
Times, right? You do have to put a times symbol on that one, and then B raised to the negative 8. That's another thing about this, though. On store, you got to remember little things like the multiplication sign. If you get an error before you get frustrated, just go back, pop in a little multiplication sign, see if it'll work, and it does. Okay, if I'd have typed that without it, I don't think it would have worked. Right? Yeah, if you have 2 variables side by side, you've got to put the little multiplication symbols, so like right here, or parentheses. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 11 next. I'm sorry, 12. Alright, number 12. Same question as before, so you're gonna see another one on the exam. Here they're saying what is a 0 of 4, 6x plus 4. So what is how can you do that in the calculator?
Graph out.
Graph out. So all you're gonna need to do is graph and write it in your notes. And do menu 6, 1. Remember, 0, zeros. Write them all down because you don't know which one they're gonna use. On your review, they're using 0, but what if they use the word roots? It's the same thing. Like, you need to understand they're asking the same thing. And if they say x-intercept, they're asking for the same thing, and then solution. So make sure you remember the different names. This is 0, though, on this question. So all you got to do is graph it, and then find the 0. So all you got to do is go to your graph app, type it in, and then do a menu 6, 1. What was that, plus 4? So your 0 is right here, where it crosses the x-axis. And you can even count. Look, you can tell where it's crossing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 6. But if you want to make sure that it is just a negative 6, click and drag over it, and there it is. So menu 6, 1. Okay, so negative 6 is what we would put down. 13, have you had graphs x squared plus 3x minus 4 on a coordinate grid? What is the y-intercept? Okay, for that one, what you want to use, and write it on your notes, is menu 5-1. That's that trace key. Because when you use menu 5-1, right away it'll show you the y-intercept. So let's go ahead and type that in our graph app. It's x squared plus 3x minus 4, and then just use menu 5-1. So see, it's a quadratic. So all you got to do is menu 5-1. There it is right there. It's one of the first things that comes up is your y-intercept. And you can scroll off, like if you don't know if it's your y-intercept, scroll off of it and then go back to it and the little yellow sign appears. If they wanted the zeros, see the little yellow signs? That's what you want to look for, is which one says y-intercept. Because you'll see several little signs pop up here and there depending on where you're at. But this is the one we wanted, the one on the y-axis. That's your y-intercept, right there. So 0, negative 4, so circle negative 4. Okay. Alright, and so you might want to draw a picture of that just so you kind of understand what you got from this. Like, from this picture, what was it that you found? You found that right there is your y-intercept. So draw a picture, because that is your y-intercept. And it's at negative 4. It's at 0 for the x, but the y is negative 4. And that's what we want to know, like what's the y number, okay? Next one wants domain. What is domain again? The x. So all you got to do is look on the x-axis, okay? So you got to go to the numbers, like right here on the x. Your picture goes from here all the way to here. And notice, this one is open, but this one is a closed circle. So we're looking for everything in between those two numbers. So it's between 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Between 1 and 4. Now, if you look at A, it has the y, so we pay attention to the variable because that's wrong. And then D says y, that's wrong. We already established it was your x's. So now you just got to look at the numbers and make sure that the 4 has a little line next to it.
Oh, it's C.
So it has to be C, you're right. Look at the little line next to 4. On B, it's wrong. They have the little line next to the 1, but that's an open circle there. Okay?
I mean, if D doesn't have Y to begin.
So be careful. Pay attention to, and let's put right here, open circle. It can be like this. But closed circle has to have the little lines underneath them. So make sure you put that in your notes. There is a difference between open and closed circles. Okay? Alright. Let's look at the next one. Which function is equivalent? That was like number 3. Equivalent means equal to, so all you have to do is graph and match. So let's put that right here. Let's put graph, and then point to the answers. You graph them, and then you match. If you want equivalent, that means you want the same graph. Which one makes the same graph? Okay? So just type each one until you find one that matches. Anybody found it yet?
G.
Okay, I'll try that one first. Let's see, 3x squared plus 7x minus 6. Okay, so there's a picture we make. Hit the tab, and then you type each answer. I'm going to go with G to see if that one is right. Notice I'm not using relations for these, so be careful with that. Some of you might go to relations and then it won't work. So 3x minus 2, and then x plus 3. Got to be the same picture if it's equivalent. Yep, there it is. It even changed its color. You know it's equivalent when it was black and now it turned to pink or purple. I don't know what color that is. Okay. So, G. Graph and match. Very simple. On number 16, there is something you can do in the calculator for this one. Normally, this is what you would do. For those of you who did learn how to do this back when we would do it by hand, what you would do is you would solve for the y.
Yeah.
Okay, remember that? So solve for the y. So watch, you would do minus 10x to both sides. You would draw your line, cancel this out, drop everything down,
So y equals negative 10x
plus 12, and then divide by 6.
6.
Everything has to be divided by 6.
So
So originally this is how we started, and then I showed you how to do it in the calculator. This would be what, 5 over 2 plus 2. Now which one is the slope? Well, the m. Remember mx plus b, the m is always your slope. If they want the y-intercept, it would be this number because that's where the b would be.
we don't identify with there yet.
Okay, so really this is what they wanted right there.
Because we take time.
Oh, I'm sorry, it should have been a 3. That was my mistake. I said 3 and I wrote 2 for some reason. Negative 5 over 3. Okay. Now in the calculator, like if you forget how to do this, the calculator is menu 833. So if you want to write this down, for those of you who have trouble solving for y, then all you need to do is graph it. Let me show you real quick. You're going to have to use relations on this one. All you do is graph it, and then go to menu 833. So watch. I'm going to graph it.
Y equals
12,
enter.
menu, 8, measurement, slope. Look for the word slope. If you forget how to get there, just look for it. And there it is right there. Some of you might say, but that's not the same thing we got. It is. It's just decimal form.
Change it to
So all you got to do, right, is go to see if that's the right one. Go to this app, divide it, do a control-enter, and you'll see it is the same thing, okay? So yes, it is the same one. Alright, so number 17, which expression is equivalent to the following expression? Equivalent, on this one, you would not be able to graph. So I know equivalent, on number 15, we graph. This is the one you would want to do store. So anytime you come across the word equivalent, try graphing. If graphing doesn't work, then you need to try the store option. And this is definitely one of those problems where you would do the store. Now, if you were going to show your work on this one, this is what you would do. What's 12 divided by 2?
6.
Okay, it's a whole number, so you put it on the top. And now what you would do is take these letters, which start with M, and you would subtract the two little powers. So negative 4 take away 2. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. And if it's negative, you have to put it on the bottom and change it to a positive power. Yeah, we didn't get to cover this, unfortunately. We showed you the store option. But this is how you would have worked it. It was just simple subtraction. Now the n, let's subtract the n. It was 4 minus negative 2. Okay, you would subtract. 4 minus a negative 2 is 4 plus 2, which is 6. You notice how it's positive power, so it goes on the top of the fraction. If they're negative, you throw them to the bottom. If they're positive, you throw them to the top. And then the last one, you would do the p's last. This would be a 1 right here, by the way.
Without a negative sign on the bottom?
No, because once you throw it to the bottom, it's kind of like you're fixing that negative power. In algebra, we don't like negative powers, so we fix them by throwing them to the bottom of a fraction. Here you're going to get, what, 1 minus 2, which is a negative 1. So that would go on the bottom, but you would change it to a positive. And actually, you can drop it. You don't have to put the 1 on this one if you don't want. But that's how you would have gotten the answer. Now, notice you don't have multiple choice. Okay? I'll check on the final exam. If there's no multiple choice, I'll put some there, because then that you can use the store key. Okay? Oh, y'all thought so? Weird. Why? Maybe mine's on the next page. I don't know. It might have got cut off there, and then it went to the next page. So, no? Okay, I need to put it in mine then. Something happened there. So, is the answer there then that I was showing you? It's C? Alright. So, it would have been this one. So, I guess on your paper it does show. For some reason, on mine it doesn't show it. Wow. I guess somebody wrote them in. And before they made the copies, they realized the same thing we just realized. Alright, I need to go ahead and stop there. Tomorrow we'll pick up where we left off, and we'll finish the rest of this one, and then the next one.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much.
Please make sure that you don't lose that review. Put your calculators away.